Okay. Good afternoon, Gonen. Pleasure to speak to you again. Congratulations again on Arbe being awarded the Frost Sulivan 2021 New Product Innovation category award for your 4D imaging radar. You must be excited.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Yeah, definitely excited. A lot of work and thought were put into this, so it's really highly appreciated. I was wondering, what are the reasons why Arbe was chosen for this award?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, Frost & Sullivan carry out a lot of market research on an annual basis. Analyst teams look at different market sectors and technologies. And as part of the autonomous driving and autonomous systems research, the team uncovered Arbe as one of the key kind of companies involved in innovative radar technologies. And as part of their benchmarking process, they identified, some really key features of your radar solution, things like a high resolution in particular, the high channel quantity, all of which provide unique features we found through the research that really differentiate the technology in the market. As part of the award process, of course, we look at things, different KPIs, specifically around product attributes, as well as things like customer impact. These can be things like, product market fit. So what kind of features technologies have that are particularly relevant to the needs of customers in the marketplace at the moment, in terms of OEMs and tier ones. It can be things like quality or reliability, particular innovations in these areas. Can also be things like just positioning and differentiation, coming to the market with unique features that really kind of disrupt the status quo. And then obviously on the customer impact side, things around price, obviously, accessibility, really an opportunity to disrupt the current marketplace. And obviously, I think on a number of these items, Arbe scored particularly highly. Obviously, I've already mentioned a few, but you're the technical expert. So maybe I'll let you explain a bit about what kind of uniquely defines your 4D radar solution, and we can go into some more details.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I think you hit most of the spots. I think the radars are making a huge leap toward becoming a primary sensor for the era of autonomy on the retail market. And to do this, the radars need to make a very big leap in performance and reliability. And I think this is what differentiates Arbe's solution from a lot of great technologies out there, because it addresses the fundamental physics challenge to make the radars fit for this mission, for the perception era in retail vehicles. I think the first is, as you mentioned, the what we call the massive MIMO, the amount of channels, which is X10 or X20 than the best in class today. And if you take the analogy from communication, for example, you need if you want high data rate, you need high bandwidth. You want high bandwidth, you need high sampling frequency. The basics of Nyquist, everybody knows this, right? In camera, again, you want high resolution, you want to detect features of people, you need high resolution pixel count. Mm-hmm. Same thing with radar. If you want, to sample the free space and the image to get to image level, you need enough RF pixels. And this is definitely fundamental in being able to sample the spatial domain, and that's the key fundamental differentiation of Arbe. Okay. And the other aspect of it is bringing a radar processor that is able to process this amount of data, amount of channels, and provide rich enough image. I mean, jumping from few hundreds of detections to tens of thousands of detections, and provide rich image with high resolution, with no spatial ambiguity or Doppler ambiguity on a single frame level. And that's a major differentiation. And I think this is where the current technologies are blocked today. They simply don't have the physics to go beyond this point. So I think that's the major differentiation. And that's breakthrough both on the RF side, on the compute side, on the algorithms to handle these kind of arrays. And just the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just backing up a little bit for those who might not know so much about the technical details of radars. Traditionally, when people think about radars in the market today, they think about, the pretty basic cruise control type assist functionality on the motorway, even more advanced features like the adaptive and things like that. And then obviously on the other extreme, they think of things like the Google car with lidars and very fancy scanning technology. Is this an incremental improvement in the current technology, or how do you see this kind of 4D imaging technology? Is it fundamentally creating a new space in the market in between these two extremes?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think that's one of the key enablers to get to L3 level features on passenger vehicles, because the cost targets of Arbe's technology is competitive with current technologies for retail radars. So it's definitely targeted to be affordable across the portfolio. But on the other hand, it takes a huge leap in robustness and performance compared to the current technologies. So it brings like the high-end capabilities to the mass market retail features. And together with the camera, it will enable a future where the features will outperform the drivers, where current radar technologies cannot do it, and the radar technology that are available on the robotaxis in the high end are not. You cannot adopt them for the retail. So I think this is groundbreaking from both ends.
Interesting. In terms of application examples, obviously in terms of the timeline. Arbe kind of the first to market with this type of performance in terms of this 4D imaging radar. Obviously, there are other kind of competitors out there as well doing similar things or competing for similar areas. Do you see this? You mentioned price and the accessibility. Are we moving to a stage in your view that you are effectively aiming to uplift effectively the performance of the mass market vehicles out there with radar in the next kind of 5 years, whereby we really get a significant uplift in the average performance of vehicles in this case?
Definitely, I think Arbe is technology is aiming to make a huge impact on the mass market, and not on the extreme end. I mean, we're definitely going to be very competitive on the extreme ends, but our technology is targeting to be affordable to the level you can deploy it on mass market. Maybe not on the lowest end. We're not going to compete with the $20 sideline zone radars, definitely. But the point here is to provide an affordable solution, but on the high end on the performance side. So features that are limited today by sensing or by single modality will be both affordable and also can reach what I call safety level, where they can be unsupervised. Mm. But the first step will be on the L2 plus, but it can be, with all the software-defined vehicle concept today, that it can be upgraded across, the life cycle. Once, the technology matures and the compute matures and the perception matures, our radar should be, the perfect companion for the camera and the perception teams, to get to this level on the features.
Mm. Yeah, so it's complementary technology to cameras. It's not aim necessarily to replace and become the sole technology.
No, I think cameras and radars are the best companions, for any unsupervised features or very high-end feature. You need redundancy. So I think no single sensor can be sufficient anyway. And I think they provide, the best diversity from sensing perspective. And in a cost-effective way, also from packaging perspective, and so I think that's the major. This is what we call our radar, a perception radar, because that's what our target is.
And you mentioned obviously the perception. We think about the traditional applications in passenger vehicles, but the application of the technology obviously goes much beyond your passenger vehicle application, right? This can be applied to trucks to improve, safety as well of the 360 kind of surround view of trucks in urban areas, as well as other areas, even in terms of delivery robots and autonomous drones, for example.
Yeah, definitely. The technology is built to be, modular and scalable. So definitely applications like delivery robots, trucks, mining applications, and we can scale it up for the very high-end robo-taxis, we can scale it down, for the, let's say the high-end corner radars or front radars for the lower-end cars in the portfolio. And definitely we're working on our next generation. Of course, that will increase this to the next level too. So we aim to support, also non-traditional automotive applications.
So it's sufficiently flexible to adapt to the different set of requirements.
Exactly, and as part of having enough resources, we can scale up and scale down accordingly, and we're not, we don't have a barrier we cannot pass to which where the system becomes so complex. If you look at if you try to build very high channel count systems from the current technologies, it becomes too complex, to handle.
And obviously with EVs, increasing in popularity, and obviously battery range becoming better, but still there are obviously limits in the future to how vehicle range will improve. Power consumption is a critical area in these spaces as you add more technology, more sensors, more processing. How do you see your solution in terms of power management? I know that our analysts mentioned that this was a particularly positive point.
Yeah, definitely. So from one end, the technology and our product are aiming to be as good or better than the best in class today. So definitely, it's not going to be any worse. The fact that Arbe's processor is tailored for radar processing allows us to do much more radar processing for much lower power. The ratio between the processing and the processing power and the power it requires, and if anybody tries to process this amount of points and this amount of channels in a traditional processor, it simply becomes unfeasible. And again, as part of our next gen, we aim to improve this even further compared to the first gen. Natural evolution of technology. Yeah.
So there's innovation on both sides, right? There's a kind of the front end, sensor side, and also on the processing side. It's really going to enable and use the features. Yeah. So, I mean, when we look at obviously the mobility evolution in terms of ADAS features, we see things obviously in Europe focusing a lot on safety related aspects, collision avoidance things. We see, the speed limiting regulation that's coming in as well, lane control, automated lane movement as well, and obviously in the States more around things like intersections, complex intersections, and obviously parking, right? The idea of automated parking. I think many people would anticipating the day where they can press a button and walk away and the car parks itself.
Yeah.
Are these all kind of use cases where the technology is ready to support in the next 5 years, you say?
Yeah, so we intend to support anything from advanced ADAS features, up to L2 plus L3 autonomous features. Definitely, we can support L4. But I was wondering, how do you see these features, the ADAS and the autonomous driving feature evolving, from here to 2030, and how will they roll out?
Yeah, so like I said, I think at the moment, clearly the industry's been a little overhyped over the last 4 years, 5 years now, with the idea of full autonomous driving, and obviously some players that everyone knows well making particularly contributions to that with references to full self-driving. But I think what we can expect is obviously, like you mentioned, these basic L2 plus features really are becoming more popular. So the level of assistance and of safety in standard vehicles really improving, with the aim, to try and deploy this technology really to reduce accidents, which is number one objective, I think, of most regulators in trying to support the technology. I think obviously in terms of convenience, we've already got things like low speed traffic assistance and chauffeurs. I imagine that this technology will make these even more capable, sophisticated, and hassle-free and safer, given the higher resolution that these radar systems entail. And obviously, one key point I think that's worth noting is that, with cameras and LiDAR being severely affected by weather conditions, I think this is one area, obviously, where, your solution and these advanced radar imaging solutions really have the opportunity to provide robustness, right, across the use cases.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think the way, I think it will not be the case that you have some L2 plus supervised features and then you have an autonomous car, right? I think bit by bit, features that are supervised today and limited in either geofenced or weather limited, will evolve over time. Again, part of the whole software-defined vehicle concept that many OEMs are adopting. And the expectation is for these features to become more and more robust to the point they outperform the driver, bit by bit, feature by feature, and become unsupervised. And I think this is exactly where I think Arbe's technology is critical, because you can use the current technology because you say, okay, it looks that it will be enough for me now from what I know today. But if you want to future-proof your vehicles and provide continuous value to your customers, you need technology that can eventually, even if you don't know how to do it today at this moment, because it's a new technology, right? And there's not a lot of experience in radar perception in the world by anyone, right? You need to have the fundamentals in place to be able to learn as you go, adapt, mature it, and then launch it to the customers. And I think this level of radar, as I call it, the second primary, right, with a camera, it is what you need on your vehicles to be able to get them to this level. So those features will be able to mature over time and provide continuous growing value to the customers.
So you see even the opportunity to have some of these feature sets coming out of these sensors as being even features on demand, potentially, some of the higher end, more sophisticated features.
Exactly, because whatever you know now, right, you'll know a lot of other things in a year or two, and nobody has actually launched, large scale L2 features, L2 plus feature, definitely not unsupervised. So those learnings will come as we go, and you as a customer, right? I came from, an OEM, so I know the other side, but also as a customer, you want to be able to get more and more value from your car. You don't want to be locked to something that, somebody thought of 5 years ago. And if you need something else, you need to buy a new car.
Right? The car gets better even in life.
Exactly. You expect it from your phone. You expect it from a lot of other technologies. You have key technology in your life, and you expect your car to improve as it gains and not age. So this is, I think, the fundamental of why we want the radars to get to this level, even if today not everybody knows exactly how to use it.
I was going to mention, how have you found the market in terms of its receptiveness, especially on the OEM side, to kind of imagine these new features and what these new sensors can bring to the vehicle in the future?
Well, so the ask is there, right? The ask is there. It's the demand is there. The ask is sometimes looks like an overspec. That any you look at the spec and you say this is physically impossible. So the ask is there definitely, because the requirements to get from the radar or any sensor to be able to support unsupervised features or very high-end supervised feature is high. And you see all the robo taxis, they have the money to stay with LiDARs around the vehicle, right? Most of them are developing very high-end radars, right? So the demand is there, that the technology is not. And I think Arbe is probably the first, and if you look at retail, probably the only company that brings the technology to this level. And this is not something that is commonly used or known in the industry. There has been a lot of attempts made to use the current technology, and they're all deemed not good enough for what it takes, but the demand is there. And I think this is exactly where Arbe has been targeting for several years now, and now getting into the maturity to start, building, actual products with tier ones.
Can you speak about any partnerships that are public in terms of where the technology is launching and rolling out?
Well, I can definitely speak on one. It became public, I think, 2 weeks ago, with a Chinese tier one that were, SRP 2023. But
so these features are coming pretty soon. It's not something that's going to show up in 5 years.
No, they're actually being built as we speak. Production level radars based on technology. There are several more. Not sure I can disclose all of them, but big tier ones, a lot of engagement with a lot of the OEMs, and it's definitely a lot of positive stress on a company that have so many leading market tier ones and partners that are pushing for early maturity, early product. That's definitely a very good driver for us to get to maturity and production.
And do you see a particular region pushing more for these? I mean, you mentioned China. Obviously, they're clearly pushing very aggressively on the whole robotaxi field. Do you see this trickling down to other areas as well?
Yeah, definitely. Also on the retail side, I think the Chinese OEMs, and as a result, the tier ones are much more aggressive on timelines and innovation. So definitely, there's a lot of opportunity there, not just for business, but also to gain real world experience on customer features and early integrations. But definitely, there's a lot of ask also for the European, the American tier ones. Traditionally their timelines and technology adoption is a bit longer. So definitely that's a very good place for us to mature towards the MOTS market beyond China.
Excellent. And I guess, I mean, in terms of this award, obviously we hope it doesn't create too much noise for you and increase the level of competition and focus on the company from your competitors. But where do you see kind of the next step now that you're in the process of going to market with the first applications? Is it about cementing the position within the automotive space? Is it about creating and exploring different markets like we talked about, in trucks, in delivery, in logistics, in restricted areas, potentially even in logistics? A lot of automation happening in the logistics space as well with automated vehicles.
And so I'll start with your first comment. I think especially in such a market where when we are market leaders, nobody wants to be the only one opening the market. So I think having Mobileye looking at similar order of magnitude of solution, but I think although they're aiming for a higher end market, but still I think it's a good sign that this is where the industry needs to go. And
helps validate the approach.
Yeah, validate the approach definitely, and Arbe has been there from day one, and we are already working on a next gen. So nobody likes competition, but sometimes competition is good.
It's good. Keeps you on your toes.
And again, Arbe needs to keep focus, of course, on our key strategic markets, and as I mentioned, Arbe is looking not to be a niche player. So definitely the focus is around the automotive front, the leading, the earlier applications, like either in China, either delivery robots, for example, and trucks that are earlier. And of course, a lot of focus on getting our chipsets into production. they're already, we are in a good situation from supply chain perspective.
I was going to say, do you see potential challenges with that side of things?
So the good news is that we are well prepared for it. And on the high, highway on to production with very strong strategic partners. And the two things we're focusing right now beyond the obvious is definitely on our next generation. Any company needs to have a continuous. Arbe intends to continue to lead the market, not to be a one trick pony. Definitely. Yeah. So we're inviting also our partners. Luckily, we have a lot of good strategic partners that contribute to focus our next generation, and also being a perception radar company, also working on strategic partners in the areas of perception. Again, because beyond the technology itself and the RF and the processing, we see ourselves playing a major role in promoting the radar-based perception for automotive use.
So creating a bit of an open ecosystem to bring developers and machine learning specialists as well on top to be able to process and optimize the data streams effectively.
Yeah, I think that's part of the adoption, definitely part of also the feedback for us. So either open ecosystem, either very strong strategic partners, and also, of course, internal effort. So that's definitely part of our focus.
So, I mean, looking, I guess, to wrap up, I think, looking forward to 2030, do we see, is this a death knell for LiDAR? I don't want to put you on the spot and be too contentious about this. You might make some enemies in the industry, but where do you see this kind of extending? Is this really kind of the beginning of a new approach where, again, as you bring the cost down and you increase performance, you wrap around these sensors around the vehicle, it really changes the paradigm for autonomy going forward, or for not full, but this interim kind of L2 plus L4.
Yeah, well, I'll put it this way. I don't think I don't want to say it's the end of LiDARs, right? I think nobody argues that, especially when you look at LiDAR image, it makes more sense to use a human than a radar, right? So nobody argues this, and definitely they are heavily used now, to accelerate development. Right now, so far, the radars were not good enough and cameras are not enough, so they're used a lot to accelerate development and provide additional capability
or feedback. Yeah,
but also for practical use. I mean, simply adding a lot of information that is easy to use, and it costs a lot also in integration. I think that the reality will dictate. I mean, once radars become, also today, nobody knows what they don't know. Actually driving autonomously on a retail vehicle and how this actually plays out, especially if you want to go unsupervised for some features, then nobody has actually done it. So I think this is how I think it will play out by 2030, that, tier ones and OEMs will figure out, how far can the radar and camera take them, and what added value does the LiDAR brings, and how low can the radar cost become, and then if it justifies the added value. I don't think there's a very strict answer for this. Definitely what we're targeting to be good enough to be able to eliminate the LiDARs if possible, but I don't think we are competing with the LiDAR. And I think LiDARs will, even if it may stay on the front, where, if you look, as I said, good to have competition, right? So, even on this concept on the high end, where you have a high cost, even then, okay, so we need triple modality for the front, maybe, not sure. Again, for L4, not sure if you need it on the mass market. But even if you do, you still need 360 coverage around the vehicle, and that's definitely will not hold with LiDARs. So I think LiDARs will make sense until it doesn't. If what will be the price point in time where it will happen, I don't know. But I think that from Arbe's perspective, it's a non-issue.
Yeah, so it's a coexistence of technologies for the foreseeable future, and really extracting the synergies between those for the different applications. Excellent. Well, I think it's great to talk to you today, and congratulations again. I think on this award. Obviously, we'll look with interest in terms of your progress and your disruption in the industry. And again, congratulations from Frost for the new Product Innovation Award this year.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.
Till next time, Gonen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.